So Draymond Green called Nick out. I want to run the piece of video we have.
Nick Wright comes out and say, Steph Curry's, that's it. He'll never see the finals again. And Andrew Wiggins, 3 years, $95 million left on his deal. Why would they go do that worst trade and blah, blah, blah? Tell us why you thought that. Tell us why this whole series you've been yapping, and then all of a sudden you want to switch to the Dubs. Tell us why. Because what's in question is your basketball knowledge.
All right, my buddy Nick Wright. We don't bring Nick on as much because A, he's got his own podcast. B, he's becoming a rock star. He's married with a bunch of kids. And
that part's
he's
true.
Doing, he's
married with a bunch of kids thing, man. I don't know how people do it. I mean, I've been doing it, but God dog it. It ain't easy.
But
a lot going
days
on.
are long and the years fly by. My son's now taller than me.
That's unbelievable. That's your son that when I was moving out of LA, you brought to the resort I was at and he swam with my kids. Yeah. The really sharp kid, like, I don't know if it's inventor or computer. I know like he does cool stuff. He's taller than you.
He's 6'3".
And you're a big guy. You're 6'2" and a half. Yeah. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. It's good to see you, my friend. I miss you. I've been in New York now. Next week is the 5-year anniversary of when I moved here.
Well, you know,
5 years. I
think New York works for you. First of all, your beautiful wife now has a boutique in Harlem, which is amazing. Yeah. I see it. It's called It's vintage plus trendy.
But with TR. Yeah. You got it. It's vintage plus trendy, which is Trentage. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that is great. Oh, she's going to be thrilled. We're going to put that. That's an unpaid Colin Cowherd endorsement. That usually costs $25,000. That's now going to be on the Instagram page. We got that shit for free. Yeah, so it's great. Can I tell you something, though, real quick, that you said about New York when I was moving out here, and you're right. It does work for us, and my wife and kids love it. And then we can talk sports. Nobody really cares about my life. It is. Living in New York is a grind, man. It's like the element of, oh, damn it, I need to go to the store. The fact that that's like, there's nothing quick. There's like nothing easy. Like everything involves a process and you got to plan it out. What amazes me is when I see like the little old lady in the winter who lives alone, who just navigates New York by herself. I'm like, wow, you are a hustler and you got a harder bones than me, man, because I really like it here. I don't think I'll live here the rest of my life. Like, I think it's hard to come to New York. I think it's hard to live in New York forever if you're not from here, because then it always feels like there's just a lot. There's always a lot going on. It's always bustling, and that's exciting, but it can be draining at times, which you warned me about before I came out here, but it is true.
No, I said before kids and after kids, it's fantastic. During kids, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot, man. It's like, oh, you have volleyball practice. We have to go to Randall's Island for it. Like what? Like it's just everything is a little harder than anywhere else. When I was in LA recently, one of our coworkers, their kid had a flag football game. And he was like, hey, if you're by, come by, swing by. I'm like, oh, that's right. There's like open fields and a lot of kids and there's a parking lot. I'm like, oh, this is like what the rest of the country's like. But go ahead. Sorry. We can talk about
you told me when I moved to Los
beloved
Angeles.
Warriors in the NBA finals and Draymond Green, number one podcast in the world. Blah, blah,
all right,
blah,
let's shift to that. So first of all, I've got a crazy trade idea that I put on the air today.
Oh, I didn't see.
Okay. The Brooklyn Nets need defense and size. When you're in a conference with Giannis and Joel Embiid, you can't have Kevin Durant as the guy on the floor the last 6 minutes of a game making the stops. He's got to get buckets. Okay. The Lakers were second in the NBA in open threes, thanks to LeBron. They have no shooters. Mm-hmm. Kyrie acknowledged, it was my bad in Cleveland. I wasn't mature enough. Mm-hmm. Kyrie to LeBron. Don't worry about Westbrook. Irrelevant. Nobody wants him. Let the contract bleed out. AD to KD. He needs a more chill personality, defense, a big. What he doesn't need is another shooter who doesn't really want to defend and wants the ball with a minute left. No. That AD's never wanted that pressure. AD defends. He's got size. You need it in the East. Remember, the East, you need bigs. You don't out West. I mean, the Suns are getting rid of DeAndre Ayton. The Warriors' big is Kayvon Looney. Most teams in the West, Jokic.
Rudy Gobert could be on the move. It's just Jokic. Jokic is the only one you got to deal with.
I mean, Dallas now, their big is Christian Wood, who's a 6'9", rail-thin forward. Yeah. So I'll throw that at you, is that it kind of makes some sense, right? Take Westbrook out. Nobody wants him eventually.
Okay, so here's the so Brew actually said that to me off the air today. That the only way the Lakers, Chris Broussard said it off the air, like, because we were in commercial break when that Shams Athletic story broke, and we were about to go on the air, and I was like, Shams is connecting the Lakers to it, and Brew just said offhanded. He was like, are they trading Anthony Davis? Because that's the only way they're getting him. And my response to you is, for that trade to happen, if I'm the Lakers, I need more. I don't know what the more is. I don't know that I want Patty Mills because he's so old. I don't know what the more is. I don't know if you have to work in another team, but I don't think I know you're down on AD, and obviously he's got injury issues and maybe some motivational issues.
And he's a declining player.
Yeah, but he's still more valuable than Kyrie Irving. He is still more valuable than Kyrie Irving, who has the same injury issues, far greater reliability issues, and he is not the two-way guy that Anthony Davis has proven to be. So that is a fascinating one, because can you win a title with LeBron and AD? Yes, we saw it, but you need the rest of the team to be really well formed. Can you win a title with LeBron and Kyrie? Not only did we see it, the rest of the team wasn't all that well formed, and you beat a damn juggernaut to win that title. That one is fascinating, but I would need more if I'm the Lakers. I can't trade AD straight up for Kyrie Irving, but it is a fascinating thing.
Remember this.
I'm trying to think. Oh, hold on. Let me ask you this. Wait. Let me ask you this. You said forget Westbrook. Now you want to get true wacky town, okay? I give you AD and Russ, and you give me Kyrie and Ben.
Take it in a second.
That I would do, because that it's like you are as flawed as Ben is, he's far more valuable than Russ, no question about it. And if you're the Nets, that's the cost. The tax is, and by the way, you've never seen Ben Simmons play, and the Russ contract is expiring. That, if I'm the Lakers, that one I do. Oh, that's an interesting one.
How about this?
That one, and I think the contracts work. Oh, that would be one of the biggest NBA trades ever.
Okay, so I said this in the preamble to you. LeBron has a history. He even bailed on D. Wade once he was physically vulnerable. Kyrie is not declining. Had his best three-point shooting year ever. AD is. Look it up. Peaked 3 to 4 years ago. His field goal percentage is points. He had a terrible shooting year. LeBron
he shot 18% from three. I don't know how it wasn't a bigger story. 18%, which is impossibly bad. It was in the discussion for the worst three-point shooting year by any player ever. But go ahead.
So Kyrie's not a declining player. LeBron plays 2 more games. He wins the NBA scoring title. He's declining in availability. He is not declining in the ability to get baskets. LeBron knows. LeBron gets the most out of everybody. Kyrie acknowledged, we broke up. My bad. I was immature. So LeBron has bailed on his best friend, D. Wade. Remember D. Wade at the end? He would struggle. He needed like 4 days rest for his right knee. Yep. Chris Bosh, great player, great guy, good friend, had health issues. LeBron will bail on a friend if he feels they're declining. Kyrie's not available, but he's not declining. He is still the best small finisher in the sport.
It is a fascinating one, Colin. I've been talking since December. At first, it was a little tongue-in-cheek, a little serious. When the Nets weren't playing Kyrie at all, when it looked like they were going to get 0 games out of him, and we knew he had this contract coming up, and the Russ thing clearly wasn't working, I said in December, Russ for Kyrie. I was like, you guys, people can say that sounds ridiculous, but if you're going to get 0 games out of him and then he's going to walk, he's worth 0. At least see if Russ reunited with Kevin Durant. This was when they still had Harden, keep in mind. You know what I mean? The Nets had Harden and KD. I was like, it might be worth a try if you're Brooklyn. And then it just seems to be more and more slow momentum towards a Kyrie and LeBron reunion. It does seem like that, because now I do understand that here is where the Nets have to be careful, because this is not a situation like Ben Simmons asking out with 4 years left on his deal. This is not an Anthony Davis asking out even with 1 year left on his deal. This is a player who can be a free agent in Kyrie Irving right now. So if the Nets are like, we're not going to help you out and send you to the Lakers, he can opt out, be a free agent, and sign anywhere he wants. And I know people are like, oh, only the bad teams have cap space. Man, the Lakers can't clear up the cap space without trading Russ. But other teams can clear up cap space. The Clippers could find a way to get Kyrie Irving quickly. Yeah. The Knicks could easily clear up the cap space to sign him outright. And if you're the Nets, can you, if Kyrie goes to you and says, I want you to find a way to trade me to team X, and if you don't, I am opting out and I'm not asking for a trade anywhere. I am signing with the Knicks. Can you deal with that if you're the Nets, of losing Kyrie Irving to the fucking Knicks across the bridge for nothing? I don't think you can. So I don't think the Nets have leverage the way most people think they do. The Blazers have leverage. Like, I don't know if they would use it if Dame were to, because Dame's been such a good citizen and such a great teammate, but he's under contract, right? The Lakers have leverage with Anthony Davis. He's under contract. The Nets have no leverage with Kyrie because he's not under contract if he opts out. And that's immediate.
It's interesting.
I like it. Yeah, I like it a lot. A lot. That's a good one, Colin.
Folks, there's a certain confidence that comes with being properly groomed. There's an aura, there's a vibe. We like to call this the BGE, Big Groomed Energy. And there's only one way to get BGE, Manscaped. They are now introducing it, Manscaped, the Platinum Package 4.0. This thing is great. It gives you a lot. You're going to get the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, ultra premium body wash, 2-in-1 shampoo plus conditioner, the Platinum 4.0 package. It includes everything. Remember, order it today, 20% off and free shipping. The code is always Colin at manscaped.com. Also, Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to the Platinum Package 4.0. Boxers and the Shed travel bag. Got one of those? Manscaped.com. 20% off. The code is always Colin. For BGE, Big Groomed Energy. Okay, so let's pivot. So Draymond Green called Nick out. I want to run the piece of video we have. We'll start with this. Let's roll the tape on Draymond Green, very popular podcast that happens to be on this network, The Volume. Go ahead.
Nick Wright comes out and say, Steph Curry's, that's it. He'll never see the finals again. And Andrew Wiggins, 3 years, $95 million left on his deal. Why would they go do that worst trade and blah, blah, blah? I hope you're willing to stand on that word, brother. Stand on that. And tell us why you thought that. Tell us why you thought that. Tell us why this whole series you've been yapping, and then all of a sudden you want to switch to the Dubs. Tell us why. Because what's in question is your basketball knowledge.
Okay, Nick, it is interesting because obviously I defend Draymond. I thought he was so good in the last couple of games of the series. He was so Draymond. He was such a catalyst. I always argued that the great teams have always had players who know exactly what they are. Manu Ginobili came off the bench. He would have started for 27 teams. He knew exactly what he was. Pippen knew exactly what he was. So did Ron Harper. Harper averaged 20 a game for the Clippers when he came over, but that's not what they needed from him. The great teams have these players that could score more, that could do more. Now, Draymond's not a great scorer, but I've always felt he is the bouncer at the nightclub, and that he controls his emotions more than people think he does, and that his job is to be a more skilled Rodman. He's trying to be annoying. And I really think it really, really works, because when he goes to more skilled players and disrupt them, like he did with Jaylen Brown, I thought it was incredibly important. So that's why I argue guys like Draymond historically have immense value.
All that's true. So there's a lot of stuff here I want to address. I'm going to do it in reverse order. Everything you said is true. It is also true that through 4 finals games, he was having arguably the worst finals of any future Hall of Famer ever. His finals is fine through 4 games. The first game was, by Basketball Reference's game score metric, the worst playoff game of his life. His second game was, I thought he was actually kind of good. That was the game where he was totally unhinged, insane in it. The third game was the worst game of his life by that same metric. His fourth game, he was so bad, his mother called him out on Twitter and his coach benched him. Game 5, he was really good in the first half. In the second half, he had 4 fouls, fouled out, took 0 shots. And then in game 6, he was excellent. He was excellent. He was on both ends of the court. That's Draymond. That's a fair reading of Draymond Green's NBA Finals. Okay? That's the finals. Now we go, we open up the aperture, as my buddy Kevin Wildes would say. Draymond Green's he called himself the greatest defensive player ever. That's nonsense. Is he one of the 3 greatest defensive players of his era? Without a doubt. Is he a future Hall of Famer? Without a doubt. Is he, in my opinion, more important than Klay Thompson has been in this Warriors dynastic run? It is close, but yes. Because I think you can find in this league a shooter more easily than you can find a guy who's going to do all the little shit Draymond does on offense. The offense has gone away this year, but he scored 32 in game 7 of the finals. Dude had 32, 15, and 9 or 10 and 9 in game 7 of the finals that they lost to LeBron. He used to be able to score the basketball. And his passing is great. And he's a good, at times, great defender now. There was a 3-year stretch where he was the most devastating defender in basketball. He won 1 Defensive Player of the Year, finished second the 2 other years to Kawhi Leonard. I came on your show before I even had my own show and said Draymond was the best defender in basketball. So all that's true about his career, right? He is not the rebounder Rodman was, but he is a better offensive player than Rodman was.
Yeah.
Modern Rodman is a great comp, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Now to what Draymond said about me. Here's one of the reasons you and I get along, Colin. In addition to the many things that we have in common, here is maybe one of the most important. We are 2 of the only members of the media that understand what's good for the goose and good for the gander. We make our living making bold proclamations, talking a little bit of shit, taking a little time, at times pointed jabs, and trying to literally predict the future. You don't do the predict the future stuff as much as I do, but you do some of it. Everything about picking a game or a champion is predicting the future, which, by the way, not possible. You can have informed speculation. And you and I understand that occasionally we're going to have big swings and crush it over the fence. And occasionally Not only are we going to miss the ball, bat's going to fly out of our hand and hit the old lady in the front row, and people are going to bring that shit up for a couple years. And you got to take it. My Andrew Wiggins take that is gone international at this point. I was getting tweets in Hebrew. It was on K-pop TikTok, okay? It has gone international for being a bad take. I was wrong. Draymond said, so there's my issue with what Draymond said. Draymond said, I hope you stand on it. If I were to talk to Draymond, I would say, what do you mean by stand on it? Like, do you mean by admit I said it? Like, not say that's a deep fake? Okay, I will stand on that. Are you saying, I hope you still believe that? Of course I don't still believe that. I was wrong. Like, Andrew Wiggins played better than I expected him to. I said they wouldn't ever make the finals. They just won the championship. So I can't stand on that part of the take. What I said wouldn't happen did happen. So I just missed on it. And that happens. The only frustration I have is not directed at Draymond, because Draymond is new media. And by the way, Draymond, I'm not sure where they teach new media classes, but if you're going to be in new media, you should probably get some of the stuff right. Like when you say, oh, and now you want to switch your pick to the Warriors. No, my friend, it was actually worse than that. I picked the Warriors, then I switched my pick to Boston. So I was wrong, but you were wrong in your new media about what I was wrong about. Okay, but here is what is frustrating to me. My colleagues, not like Wilds Brew, but like general colleagues, sports media, who have shared that 2.5-year-old Andrew Wiggins clip. When you know how I know that's an old clip? Because I don't have hair and I'm in the studio. It's been 2.5 fucking years since I've been in the studio and since I had a shaved head. So it's an old clip. But folks pretending that what I said there wasn't mostly consensus opinion really irks me. Andrew Wiggins was considered a huge miss and the worst contract in sports. Now, the Warriors, to their credit, saw something I didn't. And that's why Bob Myers makes the big bucks. But the idea that I was the only person criticizing the Andrew Wiggins trade is so ahistorical. But I said this on TV today, and I'll say it again. I hope everyone has their old TikToks ready to send this to me in 2025. I saw the championship odds for your beloved Warriors. They're the favorites to repeat. Man, get out of here. They are not winning the title next year. And by the way, everyone associated with the Warriors should send edible arrangements and bouquets to Chris Middleton, thanking him for being hurt. Because if he doesn't get hurt, the Bucks kick the shit out of everybody. Nobody was beating Milwaukee. Giannis, everyone, I love people like, oh, Boston gave Giannis trouble. They did? He averaged 35 and 15. I don't think they gave him that much trouble. There's my rant. There's my answer to Draymond. Well, and by the way, since you're his boss, can you tell him I would like to come on the Draymond Green show? And I will stand on it. Tell him that. I will come on the show. We can share some Lobos tequila. We're both Clutch clients. Mav can be the moderator. We have a lot of things in common. He's got a chirpy mother. I've got a chirpy wife. We've got some things that we can see eye to eye on, and we can discuss whatever he wants.
He's actually, I will. He's actually, he has he's very coachable. People wouldn't, you wouldn't suspect that being a rich, 100 million net worth star. He's as coachable as any athlete I've ever had. He's constantly saying, don't tell me how good I am. What do I got to get better at? Which is such a redeemable quality for
Well, then you should tell him to take that invisible backpack off when he's taking 3-pointers. That's what you should tell him. Be like, hey, Draymond, that little weight rock you have on your back when you're shooting threes, you pretend it's not there. Sorry, I'm done. Go ahead.
It's funny. You have always been, from the very beginning, let's do a Nick Wright was right. You have been very much the critic of the Danny Ainge draft and develop hoard picks theory on basketball. And like you, I do believe if Chris Middleton was healthy, Celtics don't get to the finals. I absolutely believe that to be true.
Of course. I mean, they were this close to losing in 6 to them without Chris Middleton. So yeah, I think Chris Middleton's worth, a few points in a couple games. Yeah, go ahead.
So it's interesting. I tend to believe great teams represent their city. All great Detroit teams are bad boys, are tough guys. It's a blue-collar, hands-on automotive city. All LA teams have flash. USC was Reggie Bush and Leinart, the Rams. That's just the way football is.
Dodgers got 10 stars.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting about Boston. It's an academic hub. New England was always thought as the smartest team. They didn't like to do acquisitions. They do their own thing. The Red Sox, very early adapters to analytics.
Yep.
And I do think the Celtics, it just goes against. They tried it with Kyrie and it failed. It goes against their DNA to make splashy moves. And I think they're going to hold on to this group. And I think they're going to stay with this group. And I don't think they're going to win a championship with this group. I really believe that.
Listen, here's the thing. I want to be fair to them because they were 2 games away from winning the title. And, this is what is so great about NBA history. So I'm doing, if I can do a plug for my podcast for a moment, then there'll be a reason for this. As you know, I'm doing a countdown of the 50 greatest players of the last 50 years. And one of the guys who I think gets a total short end of the stick because people act like the ABA stuff doesn't count is Dr. J. So I had Dr. J at number 11 on the 50 greatest players of the last 50 years. And he was number 10 literally a week and a half ago, but then Steph jumped him with winning the title. So in 1981, Dr. J was up 3-1 on the Boston Celtics, right? They lose the final 3 games. Dr. J is sensational in the final 3. They lose those final 3 games by Game 5, 2 points, Game 6, 1 point, Game 7, 2 points. So they lose the final 3 games by a total of 5 points. The Celtics go on to win the title against not that great Rockets team. That was pretty akin. So when I say sliding doors moment, Dr. J is that close to having, 3 rings in the ABA, 2 MVPs in the ABA, and then also 2 more rings in the NBA. And more importantly, Larry Bird is that close to only having 2 titles. And what is like Larry Bird if he only has 2 titles? I don't know what he is. I know this. When people are trying to find someone to kick out of the top 10 to put Steph in, Larry Bird might be up on that list because he didn't play all that long. So right. We're literally talking about one made bucket by Tiny Archibald is like the difference. Okay. So here's why I say that. Looking forward, I agree with you. The Celtics could be in a really rough spot because Giannis is going nowhere. The Nets, I don't believe in them in their present iteration, but they'll never be have a year from as bad as this one. And Durant, right now, the Durant stock is actually a little too low. Like maybe at one point it was trading a touch too high, but now it is trading way too low. Kevin Durant is still one of the, at worst, 4 best players in the league. I know it became very trendy to be like, well, how can you argue Durant's better than Jason Tatum when Tatum outplayed him for a week. Durant outplayed him for a decade. And I understand Durant's a lot older. With respect, Jason Tatum, who I did put in Club Superstar and I give love to, Kevin Durant's better. Like, let's pump our brakes there. So I do think if you're the Celtics, you might look and say, God, dog it, man. Game 4, ahead in the 4th quarter, and we just can't track down Steph Curry. You go up 3-1. I know they did end up losing 3 straight games in the final. If they're up 3-1, they're winning the title. They would have won the title, and it was like 6 Steph Curry possessions, and it flipped the whole series. And that's, by the way, why Steph is one of the greatest. You know what I mean? The thing I said about Dr. J, Larry Bird, that is why Larry Bird's one of the greatest. I'm not taking anything away from these guys, but they are going to be hard pressed to find a better path because Horford was very important. He's getting old, right? I don't know that Marcus Smart's young, but I don't know if he'll have a better year than the one he just had. Go ahead.
Robert Williams has a knee that has been
Williams
chronic.
Thing is concerning because he is awesome. Robert, one of the things I give Celtics fans credit on is they were early on Robert Williams and they believed in him in a way I didn't. You know, my son, who I do the podcast with, is a Celtics fan, and he has been talking about Robert Williams before the playoffs started. I'm like, man, stop it. Because when Robert Williams got hurt, he was like, oh, that kills the Celtics. And I will give, I'll admit it if I missed it. I was like, dude, if you're that reliant on Robert Williams, you weren't winning the title anyway. Well, Robert Williams was excellent, but the knee concerns you. And so then with the Celtics, it does come down to this. Can Jason Tatum get another step better? And that's the hardest step, man. The hardest step is not the hardest step is not getting from where, trying to think of the right example, even though they're very different players. The hardest step is not getting from where Donovan Mitchell is to where Paul George is, or from where Trae Young is to where Jason Tatum is. The hardest step is getting from where Ja Morant and Jason Tatum are and Devin Booker might be to where Durant and Giannis and LeBron and Steph. That's the hardest step. And if you're not that, you can win the title, but you just need everything else to fall right. You need everything else to break just perfectly for you. Because I would argue Kawhi Leonard was not that. Kawhi was not LeBron, Durant, those guys. So how did he win the title as the man? Everything broke perfectly. All the Warriors got hurt. They win in 6. You know what I mean? That's how it happened. Like, you can win the title that way, but it's really hard. Really hard.
Yeah. No, Jason Tatum's a poor ball handler. And at this point in his career, you can get better at that. But the great advantage to LeBron and Steph, great ball handlers, Kobe Bryant was a really good ball handler, is that you can beat people off the dribble.
Durant,
and if you
too.
don't, and Durant.
Durant too. Yep,
you can beat people off the dribble. If you can't, you back it up and you go at him again. LeBron will back up. Steph will back up. Tatum
None of the
knows
Celtics
he's not.
can dribble.
That's right.
Jaylen Brown truly can't dribble. It's like shocking. Meanwhile, the Warriors got one dude who can't dribble, Clay. And so he's just like, I won't do it. Clay just is like, man, I'm going to shoot these shots. Like, kiss my ass. I'm going to shoot these shots. I'm not doing nothing else. It's unbelievable. None of the Celtics could handle a ball. None of them can dribble.
No.
They need to get the hot sauce from the N1 mixtape tour to do a camp.
When you're not an elite ball handler, once you try to break a guy down and you don't, you pick your dribble up. Tatum picks his dribble up. Brown picks his dribble up. Or you continue it, veer off in an odd way, and don't get a great shot. Jaylen Brown gets into some of those weird shots toward the basket. So until he improves his ball handling, he's just a wildly versatile, talented wing.
Here's the thing. A lot of guys struggle in their first finals. A lot of guys do. So I believe Jason Tatum will be better for this experience. Now, I don't want to say who I talked to because I don't know if this is public or private, but one of the 20 greatest players ever called me after Game 6 to talk about my NBA list. And I just said, kind of in passing, I was like, well, this could be good for Tatum. And what he said is, he goes, yeah. He's like, or it could break him. And I was like, oh. And he said, Nick, these games are on TV. Whole country's watching. Whole lot of pressure. And then you got to think about it all summer. He's like, I'm not saying it will. He goes, you're right that it might be what spurs him to take that next step. He is young, and he has shown how good he can be. Or it can be something that emotionally takes him years to get over. But the other thing is, even if it's option A, he gets better because of it. He might not get a chance to redeem himself on the final stage, because I want to be very unequivocally clear about this. I think Giannis is a meteor. I think Giannis, I think it is what Giannis is going to do in the Eastern Conference is going to be similar to what LeBron did. Now, nobody's going to go to 8 straight like LeBron did because nobody's LeBron. But could Giannis go to 5 of the next 7? Absolutely he could. There's no, I'm not saying win 5 of the next 7 rings. Maybe he could, but could Giannis be in 5 of the next 7 finals? Of course he could. So then if you're in the East, if you're Durant, if you're Embiid, if you're Tatum, if you're Trae Young, I know people, anyone in do you have 2 chances to make the finals in the next 2 presidential terms? Maybe. Like, that's a real possibility. So that's the other tough part for Boston. You got past Milwaukee this year. The year you get past Milwaukee, you got to cash it in. And they were real close.
Yep. And that's kind of my feeling on it. And it goes against their sort of DNA to make a big splashy acquisition. They did with Kyrie, and it just imploded.
It didn't work.
And
they did it with Gordon Hayward, and they got incredibly unlucky. Dude shatters his leg in his first game with the team. That's just bad luck. But I love saying this, and people laugh at me for it, but it is accurate. You have won 1 title since the fall of the Berlin Wall. The damn Raptors have won the same amount.
I know.
The Pistons have won 3. The teams the Miami Heat have won 3. The Rockets have won 2. The teams we don't consider, the Dallas Mavericks have won 1. Teams we don't consider like legendary franchises have done the same as you or more than you since I've gotten my measles, mumps, and rubella vaccines. Like, we're talking since I'm 37 years old. What's your earliest memory? When you're like 4? So in my cognitive life, the Boston Celtics, you know what? I got a better way to put it. In my lifetime, I was born in 1984, so I want to make sure I get this right. Yep. In my lifetime, the Boston Celtics have won as many world championships as the Kansas City Royals. That doesn't seem great.
It is.
They both won in 85, right? Yeah, I have this right. The Royals won in 85. The Celtics won in 85. The Celtics, oh no, damn it. I'm off by a year. Okay. Since I'm a year, the Celtics have won more because do I have this right? I think I have this right. Yeah, I do have it right. The Celtics won in 80, 82, and 85. And then, so the Celtics won in 85 and with KG. The Royals won in 85 and in 2015. In my lifetime, the Celtics and the Royals have the same number of championships. Holy shit. I just figured that out in real time. That makes me so happy. I can't wait to say that all the time to Boston fans. They're like, oh yeah, Titletown. You guys are great. Just like the Royals. Yeah. Another great franchise. Just historically amazing. Oh, that's delightful.
By the way, and people say it's hard to win your first finals. Let me tell you, it's even harder the second time you're there and you were seen as failures and getting tight. It's funny. Yeah. I said my proudest prediction of the finals, I said the Celtics, because they're so tight, have a chance to outplay the Warriors in 5 games and yet lose in 6. And there are arguments to be made.
That's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. Also, hold on. So I want to respond to that. I also want to fix what I said because I think you guys might put it on social. What I said is exactly right. I was born in 1984. The Celtics and the Royals have the same number of titles. The Celtics won their title in 86. So the Celtics won in 86 and with KG. The Royals won in 85 and in 2015. I don't want to get that wrong. Folks will be like, oh, Nick, 85. 85 was Lakers, 86 was Celtics. Now, to your point, and this is why I'm so angry with myself for flipping my pick. Because when I picked the Warriors, God dog it, I'm pissed that I did this. But I really thought, and it cost me money too because I bet it, but whatever. I went on television, and this was my analysis. I said, I'm picking Golden State for 2 reasons. The first reason is I believe Steph Curry might average 35 a game in these finals and finally have a start-to-finish brilliant finals. I'm a best player in the series guy. He is clearly the best player, so I like that. That was my first reasoning for picking the Warriors. My second reasoning was I said This was on the Monday morning after the Celtics Heat Game 7. I said on the air, I said 3 times this morning, I've gone back and watched the final 3.5 minutes of Game 7 for the Celtics against Miami. They are up 13 points with 3.5 minutes left against a team that is dead on offense. And they came within 2 inches of the most crushing choke job in NBA history, blowing a 13-point lead in 3.5 minutes against a team that has no offense, which is that close, however short Jimmy Butler's shot was. And I said, some of these finals games are going to be in the balance in the fourth quarter, and I do not trust Boston's execution. I nailed it. And then I changed my goddamn mind like an idiot. But that is what happened. They just didn't. And that is where, when people were bringing up finals experience, that is where it matters. It absolutely matters that they, for the Golden State Warriors, aside from Wiggins and Poole, none of their key guys played in a game in these finals that was the biggest game of their life. For the Celtics, every single player on the roster, each game was the biggest game of their life, including their veteran, Al Horford, because he's never been to the finals. So and for the rookie head coach, every single guy there, each game was the biggest game of their life. For the Warriors, for Wiggins and Poole, they were the biggest games of their life. For nobody else, fucking Kevon Looney has 3 rings. Put some respect on his name.
It's funny. He may be the one guy they let go. He is a hell of a rebounder, but with Wiseman coming in, they don't want to pay bigs. Like that's not their thing.
I was told by a GM, and he's right. I was asking a GM about Gobert versus Mitchell. And he was like, listen, because this guy is not high on Donovan. He knows I'm not high on Rudy. He was like, I think you can make the case Rudy, certainly in the regular season, has more impact on winning. He's like, however, he goes, in our league, you just can't pay a center max money unless it's Embiid, Jokic, what Anthony Davis was, unless it's one of those guys, because you can get 80% of the production of the next best centers for basically the league minimum, for nothing. He's like, so this is on the Looney point. I don't think the Warriors are going to pay Looney, because they'll let someone else pay Looney, and they'll believe we can find, develop, sign a Kevon Looney. We can get that somewhere to some effect. And I think that's right at the center position in the league, unless you're Jokic or Embiid, because I don't know that AD won't even play center. I don't think there's a center in basketball. And that's going to be, by the way, I know it's not a topic. That's why I'd be hesitant to pay DeAndre Ayton. Do you want to pay DeAndre Ayton $35 million or get 80% of DeAndre Ayton for 15% of the salary? You know what I mean? And by the way, that's the exact argument I'm going to make one day when I do a whole Machiavellian coup against you at the television network. I'm going to you can get 80% of Cowherd for 10% of the salary. You got to do it, MS1. Just got to do it. That's going to be my pitch.
You won't have to push too hard. I'll probably just fall off the cliff anyway.
Just leave. You're just out of there. And now I'm doing the math. 10%, maybe I'm selling myself short. 40% of the salary. I'll give you 80% of Colin for 40% of the salary and be very happy. Yeah.
Listen, I'm only 80% of me 5 years ago. The salary's 140% of what I used to
All right.
make.
Okay, so you're 80% of you 5 years ago. So let me do the math there. I'm giving you 64% of 2017 Colin Cowherd. And I want 45% of 2017 Colin Cowherd's paycheck. Get Nick Khan on it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got WWE issues to deal with right now.
He's got a lot of stuff to deal with. Sorry, Nick. My bad, buddy. He's got a lot of stuff going on. Oh, God. Do you think your audience can tell that's listening that I've had a couple Coronas during the podcast? That are just you and me just hanging out, drinking, Or listen, I've had, can I tell you what I did last night?
Sure.
Oh, I'm so excited to tell you because I know we're going late. So my wife asked me, because you like the poker part of my life.
Yeah.
You like this part of it. So my wife asked me, Father's Day morning, what do you want to do? Because like you mentioned, my wife owns that boutique. And so Father's Day is a big day, and it was Juneteenth, and we're in Harlem. So it's a big business day. There's parades. There's a lot of people coming. So she was only going to be able to be with me in the morning. And I was like, all right, I'm going to tell you what I really do want to do. I was like, at 6 p.m., there is a World Series of Poker online huge event that is you're only allowed to play in it if you are physically located in Nevada or, oddly enough, New Jersey. The United States gambling laws are weird, but those are the rules. I was like, it's $1,000 to enter. It's a circuit event. So if you win it, you get a ring. It goes on your Hendon Mob profile. It's an official big time poker event. I was like, so what do I want to do? I was like, I want to take our daughters to a nice hotel in Jersey, let them swim and get room service and hang out, and me plug in my computer to the internet and play in this tournament. She was like, how long will the tournament last? I was like, well, I mean, if I were to win it, probably about 12 hours. She was like, so you'd be up till, if you were to win it, it'd be from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I'm like, yeah. I was like, now I can't tell you I'm going to win it. There's going to be, hundreds of people in this. A lot of them professional poker players. She was like, what would you do for the show? I was like, I'll drive back home in the morning. I was like, I'll bring my suit with me just in case. And I don't know what I would have told FS1. Internet went out. Got to do it via Skype. I'm not sure. But I was like, I want to do this. She's like, do it. So I took my daughters, went to this hotel in Jersey, get there around 4, check in, get set up. They go down to the pool. I log into the tournament. It's pot limit Omaha. If people want to check out so they know I'm not lying. It's the $1,000 to enter pot limit Omaha circuit event from Sunday, from Father's Day. Play. And by the way, it's unlimited rebuys for the first 4 hours. So that means if you get knocked out, if you want to pay another $1,000, you can get back in. Get knocked out, you can come back in. So I'm like, man, I'm going to fire one bullet and I'm going to go as deep as I can. Girls get back from the pool. It's 8:00. Daddy, you're still playing? Yeah. Let's order room service. 10:00. Daddy, you're still playing? I am. Turn on a movie. My older daughter, who's 17, wakes up 2 a.m. Daddy, you're still playing? I didn't say this to her. You're goddamn right I am. Down to 25 people, still playing. Colin, at 4 this morning, we were down to the final 6 people. And your old buddy Nick Wright's still in there. And your old buddy Nick Wright put a sick bluff on a guy to get a nice little chip stack. And then with 3 people left, I had the least amount of chips. So now we're at 3 people. First place is $30,000. Second place is $18,000. Third place is $13,000. I've paid $1,000 to get in this, and I have this beautiful ring awaiting me. I'm like, I'm going to win this fucking event, and I better win it quickly because I got to get on television in a few hours. And then because it's pot limit Omaha, a couple things went sideways. I actually very briefly had the chip lead, and then lost a cooler hand. I don't need to tell a bad beat story. Moral of the story is I finished in 3rd place, which I was thrilled with. I would have loved to win it, but a 3rd place finish against these pros in a game that's not even my specialty. It's not like I'm a pot limit Omaha specialist, but I've really been studying that game because I wanted to play in these types of events. And it was 4:30 in the morning. So I tell my 17-year-old, I'm like, hey, you and your sister, you guys sleep. I'll come back and get you at 10. I drove home, did the TV show, drove back, got them, came back home, did the podcast. It was noon. It's like, I haven't slept since Saturday. I did the TV show. I did the podcast. I had a great Father's Day brunch. We went to a bookstore. We got cookies. I drove to Jersey, played in a poker tournament, did a TV show, did a podcast. And I was like, oh boy, I got to go sleep. And Danielle said, are you just going to sleep till tomorrow? I was like, no, I got Cowherd's podcast in like 6 hours. So that was my day. That was a great moment for me, though. I'm so proud of myself, Colin. I was playing against some of the best of this game in the world, and I downloaded the hand history. I made there's one hand I'll never know because they don't show it. I might have made a bad fold, but I played really well. I played really well for 12 hours straight, just decision after decision. For most of your audience, they don't care about this stuff. For me, this is, I always kind of wanted to be an athlete. Obviously, didn't have the ability to do it. This is my version of it, like competing against the best in the world for real stakes and seeing how you can do it. And I'll take the third place. I would have loved to win the thing. I'll take third place finish. So that was my
for you.
Day.
Poker is for you what building a small company is for me. A total high.
Correct. That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Yeah,
since you've known me.
Since
Yeah.
I'm, yes, these are, it's almost like, I don't want to say this, like we broadcast to, you and I deeply love broadcasting. I don't think we would be us without that. But I also think there is an element of, and then we can stop because I'm going to sound dumb. You have mastered our thing. I haven't mastered it, certainly on television. I was close to mastering it on radio. There was a period of time where, and I've said this to you, I say it, and maybe I've said it on the pod, I don't think, but I'll say it on the pod. There was a period of time where nobody can tell me any differently. I believe I was the second best sports talk radio host in the country to you. I do believe that. There was a period of time. And if I listen, Dan Patrick's amazing. There's a lot. Lebitard's amazing. If I wasn't, I was on the short list. People just didn't know me, but I was great. And I'm getting there in television. I'm improving. But once you've gotten really, really good at something, there is an excitement to doing something you're not truly great at yet, where there's going to be mistakes, where it's going to be like, oh, I fucked that up. I learned from this. Yep. There is some real excitement to that. And for you, it's the business thing, because you do a lot of business stuff, and obviously you're building the volume, which is a huge endeavor. And for me, it's not just poker, but it's learning different variations of different games and trying to because it's all your brain. It's just all trying to figure it out. And so, yeah, I love it. I really, truly love it. And so that's how I spent, the latter half of my Father's Day, and it couldn't have been better. So I was thrilled.
Nick Wright, you know who he is. Follow his shit. I just had a blast.
I love it. And volume listeners, I would like you to do a couple things. One is, I would like you to cross-pollinate. If you're a podcast listener, subscribe to What's Right podcast. Here's the thing. I think you'll like it. Here's the other secret thing. If you subscribe to it, you don't actually have to listen to it. Just click subscribe. It's all the same to me. I'd like you to listen to it. You don't have to. If you're a YouTube viewer, subscribe to my page as well. But also, if you're on social media, tweet to old Draymond. Say, hey, Nick Wright wants to come on your show. I think it would be fun. I think I'm working on, the only guest I've ever had on What's Right is Lil Wayne. So it's going to be hard. Who's going to be our second guest? I would love to have Draymond, but I'll go to his turf. He can have home field advantage, and we can talk about some stuff. So that'd be great. Colin, I love you. Happy Father's Day to you. Thank you for working around my schedule. I appreciate you, and we'll do it again soon.
All right, buddy.
See you.